Hello and welcome. And it's only our second episode of our Agony Aunts podcast, we're going to call it, because it's not really a masterclass. And today, Louise and I are going to be looking at a subject that's particularly dear, I think, dear, I'm not sure is the right word, but relevant to more to Louise and a little bit to me. And it's living with a chronic health condition or a chronic health diagnosis. And this subject has been put forward by a friend of ours who's in a school community. So thank you, Alison, for the theme, and we're gonna dive in and explore. So
Fantastic.
I'm going to hand over to Louise because well, you'll soon see why, because she'll tell you about share her story a little bit, and then we'll take things from there.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. That's wonderful. Yeah, this is a subject that's close to me, I guess. I do have a chronic health condition. And actually, well, since I was quite small, I say small, quite young, I had pain, different. I was told I'd got a housemaid's knee when I was about 8.
Oh,
I don't know how you work that out. I remember the GP. I think I used to be anemic quite a lot, so they said, have some Guinness.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that was an old thing, wasn't it? And then I had years and years of going to the doctors, going to physios, going to getting X-rays, and nothing ever really sort of happened. And then I think it was around 2005, I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. It's called ankylosing spondylitis,
Oh
which
my goodness.
they call it bamboo spine. So if you don't keep flexible, your spine will kind of um, stick
Oh,
fuse, they call
curl.
it, and
Yeah.
you'll end up kind of bent over kind of thing. So you have to keep moving and flexible and everything. But in a way, when I got the diagnosis, I was hugely relieved because I'd had years and years and years of pain. I didn't know what was going on. Sometimes I was limping, I couldn't walk, my hips hurt. I used to actually every morning I used to have a hot bath for an hour just to be able to move,
Oh my
to get
goodness.
ready to go to work. It was like affected everything.
Yeah.
And then when I had my eldest, 2006, they said you have to have an epidural because your spine's sort of so stiff kind of thing. So the whole thing was actually a bit scary.
Yeah.
Um, but like I say, in a way, I was relieved with the diagnosis because I thought I'm not going mad.
Now that's my part, but we'll
Yeah,
talk about that later.
okay.
We'll come to that bit, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's quite a story.
Mm.
And you're right, that's quite it's scary, isn't it? And it doesn't give you much to look forward to when
No.
you can really go down a rabbit hole with the what ifs this is going to happen and that's going to happen. So yeah. So so Louise has written a book, which I happen to have here. She's got some too, but I thought I'd show it.
Oh,
So
lovely.
this is
Yeah.
Louise's book. It's called How to Be Human, Live Fully, Think Freely, and Find Joy in Every Day. And having listened to what you just said about your condition and your diagnosis, I think this is amazing. And
Mm.
I'd love you to tell us a little bit more about it. I have read it. So I know you've split it into three pillars. So would you like to talk a little bit about why you've
Ye-
done that and
Yeah,
what
why
the
I've
pillars
done
are?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm actually qualified as an occupational therapist, and we look at people in a very holistic way. So we look at everything, self-care, productivity, like what you do, what your activities are, what your network is, what's your support system, institutions. We look at absolutely everything. And one of the biggest things I I feel, is that self-care is absolutely crucial. So I visit people every day in the community, and they've often got really complex health conditions. Um, and quite often with women, I feel they always lump fibromyalgia on the top of everything. Uh, but it's not it's not to say it's not a serious thing, because the huge pain and
Yeah,
fatigue and everything else, it's really a horrible thing. And I just, I see what we call the sick role. So like when I had the diagnosis, I also kind of took that on as my identity. So I was an expert patient, so I could tell you exactly what it was, what the prognosis was, what I could do, what I couldn't do, what
yeah,
it was stopping, everything. I could tell you everything about it. But it sort of became my identity. And in that way, I kind of went in a bit of a dark hole.
yeah,
So I see with people that self-care is really huge. You really have to look after yourself. You have to be not selfish, but you have to look after yourself
yeah. So
first.
you're not talking about spa days necessarily, or that sort of thing. It's a
No,
little bit
although
different.
if
Although
that
those, if
helps,
that helps, yeah, I'm not knocking spa days, but I think it's more about, or not more. It's about seeing that you have needs and they're valid, and if you don't look after you,
mm,
then who else is going to? And it's
yeah, absolutely. And
you
if you
need to
don't
be.
look after you, it's like the oxygen mask in the
Yeah,
aeroplane. You
exactly.
have to do you first,
Yeah,
because otherwise you've just got nothing to give.
yeah,
You're kind of
yeah,
empty. Yeah.
yeah. And I think it sounds like for a while this diagnosis was kind of defined you a little bit. It was who you were,
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
can't see outside. It's like everything, it's like you're wearing glasses that are,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
looking through the lens of your diagnosis in
absolutely.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And that
yeah,
that that relates to how I felt about my, mental health issues, which we'll talk about in a minute. But
yeah,
so tell us a little bit more. So the first pillar is self-care.
yeah, yeah. And then since I've learned this understanding that we both coach from, the three principles, but essentially I know now how my mind works, and that's the second pillar, is how your mind works. So it's really to help people see that, for example, if I'm experiencing pain and fatigue, yes, I've got a lot of thinking around that, and actually I can self perpetuate. I'm sort of going up the stairs, and my knees, and my hips hurt, and I'm limping, and I can really get deep down into that and think about it more and more and more. And the pain can get worse and worse and worse. Whereas if I notice, oh, yeah, I'm dwelling on that, then I can distance myself a little bit, and it does reduce the intensity of everything, the pain.
Yeah,
Even if I'm really tired, I've got a definite habit of saying, "Oh, I'm so tired." I've had it for years, um, and then now I sort of say, "Oh, but I'm starting to rejuvenate. I'm feeling okay." So I just have to kind of catch it,
yeah.
you
So
know.
yeah, so uh, I have a saying that I throw out a lot, which came from when I was working with the horses in the natural horsemanship, which is that what you focus on gets bigger.
Yeah.
And I've heard that a lot more in recent years, because it's so true that whatever you give your attention to expands.
Yes.
And it's I mean I'm not saying it's easy sometimes, especially if you're in chronic pain, or it can take all your attention.
Mm.
But I think when you, and you said a really important word, when you notice that you're doing that, actually that's all it takes is a noticing that you're getting drawn into it. And
Yeah,
because then it gets so big that you start thinking, oh, what if I'm feeling like this tomorrow and I can't go to work, and what if this
yeah,
is happening, and what if that is happening, and before you know it, you're six
yeah,
months down the line and your life's over,
yeah, yeah.
which
And
is,
what's amazing, yeah, that's so true. And then what's amazing is I can put all of that on hold when I go on holiday, especially if it's somewhere warm, which of course helps my bones and everything. But and then I'm like having a completely different
yeah,
experience. But am I actually having a completely different experience, or am I just not thinking about it
yeah,
for these two
yeah,
weeks? That's
yeah.
crazy.
And I mean, I I I think I've shared with you before that I had it wasn't a chronic condition in that it was kind of never ending, but I had a illness that lasted nearly 2 years that was incredibly painful and uncomfortable and involved numerous visits to hospital, and eventually, in fact, in the end, it was an emergency visit, um, and it was a waterworks problem. So uh, I basically I had cystitis constantly for a year before they found out what was wrong, and I was
Wow.
on all sorts of medication, and and I went down all sorts of alternative routes as well. I was doing everything just to try and get through the day.
Yes.
But I remember, because I was running a charity then, working with youngsters who were struggling at school and that, with my horses, with my horse charity, and I can see now, I can remember quite plainly that I would be out there working with the boys and the horses, wearing nappies, wearing, because I couldn't, I had no control in the end at all.
No.
And I
Wow.
was
Yeah.
drinking such a lot because I had to keep, that helped a little bit. But laughing and joking and
Yeah.
and getting on with my day and work and working with the horses.
Yeah. Not dwelling. Yeah.
And not dwelling on it even,
Yeah.
and it wasn't that the pain was less, but I wasn't focused on it. I was
Yeah.
it was just something
At the
that
back.
was
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
and I didn't really see that or notice that until years, now looking back, when I look at it and go, oh my goodness, yeah, that it's just so easy to get so drawn into the pain that the pain becomes
Mm.
everything.
Yeah, that's so true. What I've noticed, I don't know how long ago, quite a while, year or two or something, I noticed that I was the person that would be sitting on the couch and say to the boys or whoever, I don't suppose, can you make me a cup of tea? Because, my hips are really hurting. Or I'd say, could you do me, in fact, it's a joke now. If I say to my son, could you do me a favour? He says, do you want me to fetch your cardie? Because that's what I said all the time. Could you do me a favour? So I was turning into that person that, I see a lot of people and I don't, and it's horrible when you're in pain. I do completely, I'm there. But you're doing less and less and less, and your world's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. That's what I hope that, people can come out of. Yeah, because
Yeah,
like you say, just doing something else or distracting yourself
yeah,
sounds easy, but actually it does
it
reduce
does
it.
really help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does.
And I think we can go so far down that road of focusing on the pain, and you know we become a victim of it, don't we?
Absolutely.
And people talk about battling things,
Yeah,
illnesses,
yeah.
and I don't know, that doesn't sit very well with me, like battling. It feels like it's too much, it's all resistance and hard, and do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yes, yes,
and uh, I mean, you hear it all the time, don't you? When people have, particularly something like cancer, where they're battling,
mm,
and I don't know that that's for me personally. That doesn't fit very well, you know,
mm,
um, because all these things are part of. They're all part of the life, aren't they? You know,
yes, yes,
and I just think when you get into that kind of frame of mind, that it kind of it's taking you into a poor me victim sort of place, you know.
it does, yeah,
Although I guess for some people the battling is how they pick themselves up. So it's just that's
yes,
something personally for me that I don't
yeah,
it doesn't work for me. But I know my I mean my example, for want of a better word, of chronic illness is the fact that I was diagnosed with depression, clinical depression in my late 20s. Um, and that was forever. Eventually, I was told that I had a condition and that I would manage it, you know. Um,
mm,
and I mean, in those days, I remember even when things were seemed a little bit better, the doctor's advice was not, you know, don't not to come off it kind of thing.
mm.
Um, and I mean, that just continued, and eventually they added another label to it when I had some counseling once, and I happened to mention that I woke up in the morning with anxiety, and I was talking about, you know, or this feeling. I didn't even call it anxiety. I just said, oh, I always feel really bad in the mornings, and I remember the counselor went, oh my goodness, I think you've got anxiety disorder. And I mean, this is this
Mm.
is 20, I don't know how many years ago, a long time ago, but it was just
Yeah,
another thing, you know, and so
yes,
I ended up I had my antidepressants and I had my diazepam and, you know,
yeah,
um, and I had then had a panic attack after I'd been diagnosed with GAD.
yeah,
But I think it was because I thought I'd got
yeah.
the
Mm.
anxiety.
I tell you, oh, sorry, it just reminds me when I was coaching at the senior school, this girl said to me, I think she was 15. She said, I think they were investigating her potentially for ADHD, something like that. She said that her GP said to her, girls with ADHD also have anxiety. So she was basically saying to me, I also have anxiety.
Yeah,
And I said, but is that true? She said, well, that's what they told me. I
yeah,
said, that's rubbish.
I
It's
know, I
rubbish.
know.
It makes me so
Yeah.
angry.
And you know, I just thought for a long time that I had a condition, and then, you know, I was right down in that poor me victim, and I thought I was broken and rubbish, and you know, and all the rest of it, and you just, I don't know, if it does define you, and you blame everything that goes wrong because you
Yeah,
think there's
yeah, yeah,
something wrong with you.
yeah. That's true. I think we talked about, didn't we, actually having a whole episode about anxiety because
Yeah.
that's a really big
Yeah, I
subject.
think, in fact, I think somebody else has mentioned that, so we might bring that
Yeah,
up
we
for
we we
next
should
time.
definitely. I've got so much to say about that one.
Yeah,
But yeah, with the depression, I know exactly what you mean because we were driving along one day and it was in the winter and it was grey and it was rainy and it was ugh. And I had this recollection of being told that I went again, probably in my 20s, that I was clinically depressed. We were driving along, and I just remember thinking that is such a heavy burden to give somebody because they really do think that's it now, the rest of my life,
yeah,
that's it. And there's no coming back from that. And I just got to take these pills. And it's not true.
No,
That's,
no,
oh, it,
and I mean, I would worry, I would worry about things that yeah were in my, things I'd planned and things I wanted to do in case, and I honestly did have some really major kind of breakdowns where I just couldn't function
mm,
anymore.
yeah,
Um, and in fact, the first time that happened, my parents were so scared they didn't tell anybody.
right.
They just kept me at home,
Yeah,
and I think I mean, my youngest daughter was about 12, so this is again, I was in my 40s or something.
mm,
And eventually I as my dad would say, pulled myself together. And um I remember my mum coming with me actually to the doctor, and they gave just upped my antidepressants.
yeah,
Um and of course then you're kind of flatline, you're just
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
but uh I mean, as we've been talking about your book, and your third pillar, isn't it, is go out and live your life,
yes,
pretty much.
exactly. Yeah,
Well, I mean, this understanding that we're both coaching from, coming from the three principles, or the inside out understanding, or whatever you like to call it, since I have, as you said, understood better about how we work psychologically,
mm,
I have not had, I haven't taken antidepressants or anything else like that for about 9 years.
okay, yes. I stopped taking about 20 years ago, ish. I remember that I'd had something like um, for a couple of years, and then I think they kind of stopped working after a while, so you kind of have to go back and have another conversation. They gave me so instead of him, apparently you're supposed to wean off. So it's a serious thing. You can't mess about. You're supposed to wean off one tablet and then build up with another, but he just said, don't take any more of those today. Take this one tomorrow, which I did. And then I had the most horrendous experience where literally I don't know what happened to my brain. I felt like everything was distorted and I couldn't hear and I couldn't see properly. I was absolutely terrified. Didn't know what on earth was happening. Um, and I rang my husband and said, you have to come home, you have to come home. I was really panicked because I got two small children and I just couldn't function and I
Mm.
was terrified. I looked up afterwards and they'd given me this, it was like a psychotic, strong stuff. Why they gave me that, I don't know. It just, and then from that point on, I was like, no, I'm never, ever, ever taking, I don't care. I'm not taking anything again. I'm not doing that. Because I'd lost myself,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
and had a horrible experience. I think depression, they say, what your body's trying to say to you is you need deep rest. And so
Well,
you kind
yes.
of,
And I mean, my original um, diagnosis of depression came about a year after losing my brother in a pretty traumatic accident. Um,
yeah,
and, it, there was a reason for me to feel the way I felt. Um, but because there's that side of it, isn't it? You're not, you can grieve for so long, and then you've got to pull yourself together, as my dad would say again. He's
yeah,
one of his favorites. But it's like after a certain period of time, you're expected to kind of get on with life. What I didn't know at the time was that, I wasn't just grieving. I had other my attention was on my thinking. I was believing my thinking, and I was stuck in this whole story that I believed was true. Um, and I guess, well, that's been the the real turning point for me. I mean, the horses helped me a lot before I before that because they pointed me back to myself. Um, but I even then, even though that was really helpful for a long time, I still had this underlying belief that fundamentally there was something wrong with me, and that was it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I know we've talked about this before, about is it called the DCM? The
yeah,
Book of Mental Health Conditions,
yeah.
which in the 50s was only this thick, and now it's like this thick.
Yeah, it gets bigger every year, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they added a new one to say that if you have bereaved and if you grieve longer than a year, then that's now a thing.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
nonsense.
Anyway, I want to point, I don't know what we're doing on time. I think we've got a few more minutes. Um, I'd like to go back to you for the ending because Alison asked us to talk about this, and I know she's living with a, I guess it's a similar condition to yours because it's a form of arthritis.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about your last chapter and what Go Live Your Life looks like for you.
So yeah, it's a gentle chapter. It's not, because we can't just forget the fact that there's pain and fatigue and stiffness and all that. But what we can do, I think, is just look at just doing little steps. Um, I mentioned like just 1%. If you just did change something 1%, drink a bit more water, or because I know Alison actually has worked with nutrition for
Yeah.
her condition. So it's really important because inflammatory foods obviously exacerbate everything that's happening in your body. So you need to reduce inflammation as much as you can, really. So 1% changes, like drink more water, eat something healthy, take a few more steps. And obviously, with my job, I do see people that don't leave the house. That's really sad. Um, just open some curtains, get some light in, get some fresh air, open a window, stand at the door and look out. I mean, literally, people sometimes don't leave their living room
Mm,
or their bedroom, and it doesn't have to be like that. You can make small changes or big changes depending on what you want to do, but it's just embrace life, go out and do things. If you do something new, you actually create neural pathways in your brain with neuroplasticity is amazing. So if you do something new, like last year I vowed to do 12 new things. So I did like axe throwing.
oh my
Um,
goodness.
yeah, I took my
Watch
boys. We
out,
did
guys.
yeah, we did axe throwing. We did we found a shooting place where they did it in the basement of this working men's club, which is amazing. So just try new things, and it not only does it give you something to talk about because
Yeah.
we get so closed in that we only talk about our condition, but it just helps you have a different perspective on life, and actually going out into the community and seeing other people, you think everybody's better off than me, but actually, some people aren't. Some people are really struggling more than you. And it just sometimes gives you a little bit more
Sort of shifts the balance a bit.
perspective on
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And actually, then sometimes people do that and then they start volunteering, helping other people.
yeah,
They might not be able to work, but they can actually, help other people in the community that are struggling. So it widens your world.
yeah.
It's really wonderful.
That's brilliant. So, I guess I guess we should tell people that they can get your book from
Yeah.
somewhere. Do you, um,
It's on Amazon.
it's on Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
You can get it on Kindle
you can
too.
get it on Kindle. So it's an ebook and it's on Amazon. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Um, there's something else you're offering, isn't there, at the moment that you were going to talk about? Do you remember something to do with your birthday this year?
My birthday this year. Oh yes. I'd forgotten. Yeah, so this year I'm 56. So I've put aside some places to coach people for just a session, an hour session for £56, which is an absolute bargain. And I'd love to, chat to people about this subject or any subject, because I just love talking to people
Yeah.
as you do. So it's just, I find people absolutely fascinating. Everybody's got a story, and sometimes people do have struggles. So
Yeah.
I'd love to just chat about that or see if I can help you reach your goals or have a different perspective on your situation. Yeah. So you can, do we have something that we can put in the blurb?
Yes, we can put this. So we'll be sharing this in different places, won't we?
Yes. Yeah.
So yes. So Louise's book, and I think that's all really. I'm going to put this in the school community,
Lovely.
my Living a Life Less Serious. And if
Yeah.
anyone wants to know more about living a life less serious after being diagnosed as completely broken and mad and depressed and anxious, so that the community is a great place to start, okay?
Absolutely. It's a great community, very
Yeah,
supportive. Yeah.
yeah. And Louise is a member in there as well, so that's good.
Yeah. Lovely. Well,
So,
thank you,
okay.
Sharon. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this has been great. Thank you, Alison, for the subject, because it's
Yeah. Thank you.
and once you've had a chance to anyone who's listening to this and has any more questions, just get in touch. Somewhere below the wherever you find the video will be a way to get in touch with us. Okay, that's probably the easiest way to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
have an email, cavellcoaching@gmail.com. So Cavell is Cavell, cavellcoaching@gmail.com.
okay.
But yeah, we'll put stuff in the
In
blurb
in the
too.
blurbs, in the show notes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
All
you,
right.
Sharon.
Okay. So goodbye, everybody, and we'll see you next time when the agony aunts will be probably talking about waking up with anxiety. I think that's our next one.